Hey, what's up guys, Hans here. In today's video, I will show you which security system was the best fit for my self-storage business. In particular, I will show you exactly which different systems I use for the different properties I have and why I rely on both systems with an internet connection and a power connection and systems without. Do you want to know which system fits best to your business? Then stay until the end of the video. Alright guys, let's get it started. As you might have heard me talked about in another video, I have been running a side hustle in which I rent out storage space. In particular, I'm using standard shipping containers, which are set on properties and which I then rent out to private persons or small firms. For this business, security is an essential part, which needs to be thought through carefully, as people are storing their possessions and sometimes very personal belongings into these containers. Making sure that their things are safe during the day and at night is crucial. Before we start, let me just remind you that I have extensively talked about my side hustle in this video up here, in which I also briefly elaborated on the subject of security. So if you're interested in my side hustle, I highly recommend watching it, as I'm laying out the exact steps which you have to go through to set up your business. And I will link the video in the description below. Also, before we dig into this video, let me just quickly clarify that I am unfortunately not being sponsored for this video and for the brands I'm recommending in this video. I just want to provide you with some tips and tricks based on the experiences I made when setting up my security camera system. But first, let's rewind. Let me tell you about which security camera systems are out there. As you might already know, there are many systems which one could buy and use. But first, let's talk about how they can be differentiated. There are camera systems which are fully self-sufficient, for example via a small solar panel and a SIM card which can connect to the internet. And then there are also systems which require you to have a power outlet and also a connection to the internet, for example via a regular Wi-Fi router or an Ethernet cable. But first, let's talk about camera systems which are comprised of a whole set of tools, such as the cameras, the network video recorder or the NVR, which also includes a hard drive, the needed cables, and so on. As you can imagine, these sets are great if you want to establish a security camera system for a large property and for which you might need several cameras. Let me just quickly describe how these systems work. First, you have the network video recorder, the NVR, which needs to be plugged into a power outlet. Then you can connect several cameras via a network cable such as the Cat5 or Cat6, which is the one you also use when plugging your laptop into your router. And then there's no additional power outlet needed for the cameras themselves. For this, you need to make sure that the Cat5 or Cat6 network cable is actually long enough to go from the NVR to each camera. For example, I mostly bought 50 meters or 160 foot cables for each of my cameras. The cameras are then obviously screwed onto the position where they need to be, and if possible at a location where they can't be easily reached. Makes sense, right? Then you can connect an external screen to the NVR, on which you can instantly and in real time view the camera output. Even though there's usually a hard drive built into the network video recorder, the NVR, and the storage of mine was 2 terabyte, which is really a lot, you can also hook up an external hard drive via the USB port of the NVR. For example, in addition to the 2 terabytes which I have internally in my NVR, I added another external hard drive with 3 terabytes, which allows me to review the footage roughly 1 month after the recording occurred. But keep in mind that the more your cameras record, and you can determine the specifics of that in the settings for each camera individually, the more space you will have to need on these hard drives. Lastly, you can, and you don't have to, connect your NVR to the internet. And I think that's possible via Wi-Fi also, but most certainly via another network cable such as the Cat5 or Cat6. By doing that, you can access your camera system at any time and from any location, as long as you're connected to the internet. And then you can also even change the settings via the app on your smartphone, for example. Now, this is how a whole set can work and can be applied on your property. But I know that some of you out there might not have an internet connection because, for example, the property is just so remote. In that case, you can also get a mobile router which you can plug into a power outlet and then insert a small SIM card into the router, which then establishes an internet connection via your cell phone network in the area. In that case, you obviously need to get a contract together with that SIM card, and you need to have some sort of data package on your SIM card. And this solution works great for me for my first property on which I did not have any internet before. And also I just got a second SIM card for the same contract I use for my cell phone anyways, so it's not even attached to any additional costs. Alright guys, so this is what the setup looks like. It's a bit messy, sorry for that. So what we have here is the NVR from Reolink. Again, I will link everything down below in the video description. This is the NVR, and in the back here we do have the different cables which go out all the way to each individual camera. And then also we do have this blue Ethernet or network cable which is connected to the router, which is, as I said before, connected to the cell phone network via this small SIM card which is inserted here. Then we also have this external hard drive here, which is an additional 3 terabytes in addition to the 2 terabytes which are in here, the internal hard drive. And then lastly we do have this external screen. If we turn that on, you can see that it is transmitting the video output in real time. And if you're interested in the products I just talked about, make sure to check out the description, in which I will link every product and you can just have a look at it. But now let's get to the really tricky situations. Let's say you don't have electricity or a power outlet anywhere near the property or where you want to set up the camera system. And let's say you don't have a Wi-Fi or an internet connection either. So what could you do? One thing you could definitely do is hit the like button below. Jokes aside, for this there's really a clever solution. The camera system manufacturer called Reolink, and maybe you've heard of them before, offers a solution for which you don't need a power outlet or a Wi-Fi connection or some sort of internet connection either. What is really cool is that you can get the camera together with a small solar panel, which you can then mount right next to the camera itself. Also, you can insert a small SIM card right into the camera itself, just so it's connected to the internet as well. And thereby the camera is really self-sufficient. And it's a really great solution for remote areas. Alright guys, let's quickly have a look at this camera. This is the one with the external solar panel, which can be attached so that it's fully self-sufficient. It's a bit dirty over here, so just don't look at it. Let's have a look at this camera first. Up here is obviously the lens. Then there's some sort of sensor for the night vision down below. If we turn this around, you can see that there's a small outlet with which you can charge the camera in case you don't have the solar panel attached to it. And then if you sort of take the top off the bottom part of the camera, you can have a look at this. You can see that the battery's in here. You can actually take that out if you want to. And then you can also see 2 small outlets over here. This one is for the SIM card, as I mentioned before, so that you're connected to the internet, and then also the micro SD card. So if you do want to save the videos on an SD card, you can just put it in here, and then the videos are going to be recorded onto this SD card, which you can then take out, and that is pretty much it. Overall, I think the camera plus the solar panel costs around $200, and I will link the specific products down below in the description again. Technically, the solution works out great. However, I just quickly want to note that at some point, the camera which I used was completely, or the battery from the camera which I used was completely empty at some point, even though I had obviously attached the solar panel to it. I think that was probably due to the winter and not much sun shining on the solar panel. And after a few days, it started working again. So it really wasn't that bad. I just quickly wanted to note this part in case you're thinking about ordering the set. Also, since you don't have an external hard drive connected to the camera itself, you can only insert a small SD card. It can only record and save a few days of video recording. Technically, you could also upload all of these videos into a cloud, for which you then don't need the external hard drive anymore, but that is part of Reolink's subscription model, and I just haven't made use of it. Lastly, the third option would be to get a whole set as described in option number 1, but instead of using network cables, which you connect between the NVR and the cameras, you can also get a system which just works via Wi-Fi, and thereby you don't have to lay cables on your property. And while this is also a great option, just keep two things in mind here. First, when choosing this option, keep in mind that the cameras need to be in reach of the Wi-Fi. Therefore, if you have a large area or property on which you want to put the cameras, this is probably not a viable option for you, as you probably won't be able to have a Wi-Fi connection all over your property. And then second, also keep in mind that the Wi-Fi connection can also be interfered and jammed, for example by people who break into your property. And while that might not be very probable, just keep it in mind. And also just another quick hint, you obviously do need power outlets for each of these cameras. Now, after having talked about the different camera systems out there, let me just quickly elaborate on the systems which I use myself. Both of my storage facilities are rather remote. Again, if you're interested in having a look at my self-storage properties, check out this video here. And on both properties, I don't have an established internet connection. And that's why I use, on the one side, the mobile router, which connects to the cell phone network via this SIM card, as I described before, and also the camera, including the solar panel, also using a SIM card. This allows me to always keep an eye on my properties, even at night. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this week's video. If you took anything from this video, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. I will be publishing a lot more videos in the coming weeks and months, all about setting up a self-storage business, finance, investing, and management consulting. So stay tuned. Alright, that's it for now. See you guys next time. Take care. Bye.